He's a writer, comedian, he's a motoring journalist, and one of the hosts of the Everything Electric show, the world's #1 EV and green energy media YouTube channel, coming to us from North London. It's a great pleasure to welcome for the first time, Jack Scarlett. Hello, Jack.
Good evening, Jim, or good morning. It's very nice to be here.
It's great to have you. Evening where you are, as you said, morning here. I got to say off the bat, I'm a relatively new fan to what you do with the channel. Our producer Neil's a longtime fan, and he got me into it. And one of the first things I really liked about your reviews of various vehicles is that I'm not an in-depth car guy, but you really do plain speak it so that the expert obviously understands, but so can I. And one of the things I love is that the word fun comes up a lot with you, because the car you're talking about, one component has to be that it's fun.
Absolutely, Jim. I speak plain because I'm a plain guy. If I have any talent at all, it is that I am a translator for very clever people to help them communicate to regular people. And electric vehicles and everything that comes with them, kilowatt hours and charging speeds, it can all be a bit daunting to people that aren't in the know. So I think it's very important that we just keep it simple, because actually it's not as complicated as it initially sounds.
One of the other things you do, and I consider myself from the old school, but one of the things you do that I love is that you're also old school too. Like, I love some of the reviews I've seen where you actually like buttons, and you're also not, it can't all be just on the screen, which is, I've always thought, never great for driving, but I saw one recent review you did where the buttons were a big thing for you.
There's a button renaissance coming, Jim. I'm telling you, it's happening. I don't know who got it into their head that vanishing all functionality into a large iPhone mounted on the dash was a safer version of what we had before, but it's not, and it infuriates me. And I'm very glad to see a lot of manufacturers are now backpedaling that and going, hey, we think buttons are going to be the next big thing. So we've come full circle. I'm glad that we got there eventually.
I think, I shouldn't say I think, I know the first segment I saw that you did, which really, I got to tell you, I was blown away, was the minivan from China, which we're not here to talk politics or trade, but it's a vehicle that we most likely will never see in this country because of our agreement with the Americans, and they have to approve anything car-wise coming in from China. But I got to tell you, I was blown away by this electric vehicle coming from China, a minivan. And you seem to be blown away as well.
Yeah, it was like staring directly into the future. It is a simple fact that when it comes to battery technology and software, the stuff coming out of China is a full generation ahead of what anyone else is doing. And that, it was called the Li Mega. That vehicle is essentially a flightless private jet, and yeah, just absolutely staggering. That technology trickles down. It won't be long before we see the Korean brands doing it, and then before you know it, the American and the North American and European brands will have access to the same technology. But yes, there's no question who's doing batteries and software the best at the moment.
One of the things you mentioned, and I hear people say this all the time, is something called range anxiety. That's always the hesitation. People wanting to maybe dip their toe into the electric vehicle world, but they're worried about the battery and charging. And it's always so interesting. They think we may not have enough electricity, but we're building data centers where we're Bitcoin mining centers and all that. What do you say to people that you talk to and our viewers out there across Canada that may be experiencing the fear of that?
I think it's a thing that happens when you drive EVs the first few times, and then it just dissipates because you learn what your car is actually capable of doing, and you know that each percent is in real life this many miles, and maybe in winter a couple less miles, but you just learn the car. Before long, you turn into sort of range masochist. I sometimes get off on just getting really close to 0%, but I know I'm going to make it home. Maybe I have to turn my heated seats off for the last few miles just to be safe. But you know, the good news is electric car batteries are getting bigger, they're getting more energy dense. Gone are the days where you had to spend huge amounts of money for a vehicle that could barely muster 100 miles in the real world. We've got cars now that can do 300, 350, 400 miles of range. That's not super helpful to us in the UK because it's only small here. We don't drive that far. But I know that in the North American market, having that ability to drive big distances and back without stopping is absolutely key. And the good news is we have more and more vehicles that can really do that.
Jack, talk to us about the electrification of Norway. Is that something that your country, my country, should be looking at? This, I believe, was something started by Aha, the band. You remember them, Take On Me. You've had an experience with that. I've been there several times myself. Is this where we're going? And should they be inspiring other countries to do the same?
It's almost annoying in Europe how much we have to talk about Norway as being the kind of shining beacon of sustainability and electrification, but is the truth. I think the percentage of new cars purchased in Norway, it's like 95+% pure electric vehicles now. And I went there a couple of years ago and we filmed a little mini documentary to explore how have they achieved this. Is it because Norwegians are more in touch with nature because they have it on their doorstep and therefore they're more climate change conscious? Is it something about the Scandinavian collectivism of their society? Is it because the band a-ha were really big into electric cars in the 80s? It's none of those things. It is simply that the Norwegian government made it make sense to people's wallets. They put a huge amount of purchase tax onto new gas vehicles, and it incrementally increases based on how pollutive they are. So if you want a big V8, you might be paying 200% the sticker price and then the same again in tax. And then they just took all that tax off electric vehicles. And the thing about EVs is people might be cynical about them, but if you make them affordable, they'll buy them. And then they realize that they're great. No one really gets in one and dislikes it. It's just about getting them in however we can. And the best way is to make it make sense to people's wallets. That's what they've done in Norway so successfully.
Jack, we want to let our viewers know it's great. We don't often get a chance to do this, but we're doing this interview with you and we're airing it before your appearance here with your colleagues. September 5th to the 7th, the Everything Electric show. Every year I'm hearing that the crowds are getting bigger and bigger. That's a good sign. Tell our viewers what they can expect should they join you and your colleagues and everyone else September 5th to the 7th.
Thank you so much. It's at the Vancouver Convention Centre, 5th to the 7th of September, as you mentioned. It's a festival of all things electric and sustainable. So there'll be a series of panel discussions over the weekend, ranging in topic from really beginner stuff, how to choose your first EV, all the way up to really thinky stuff about the ethics and sustainability of our batteries and turning concept cars into a reality. There's an enormous test drive program. This is probably the number one sell. I'd love to pretend the number one sell is me yapping away on the stage, but the truth is, for most people, it's the fact that we do thousands of electric vehicle test drives every single day. Over 20 different OEMs are already confirmed. There's not many places where you can get out of the new electric Chevy and jump straight into the electric Hummer and then jump straight into an electric Lexus and compare and contrast them in real time and go away that day having driven everything that was on your shortlist and knowing exactly one suits you best. But it's not just cars either, it's the whole 9 yards. So maybe you've already got an EV, well, come and see someone about getting some solar panels up on your roof, or maybe buying an electric bicycle. It's the full ecosphere of electric stuff, and we do find that it's a slippery slope, Jim. People get the car and then suddenly they're like, well, maybe I do need the solar panels, maybe I do need a little electric skateboard to get me to and from the station. But it's a fun slippery slope. So yes, there's a little bit of everything. It's a good family day out. I very much recommend everyone come join us.
That's great to hear, Jack. Of course, Jack is a writer, comedian, a motoring journalist, and one of the hosts of the Everything Electric, the world's #1 EV and green energy media YouTube channel. I'm very proud to say he's also a fellow Arsenal fan, if that means anything to you out there, folks. Good to have you on our team, Jack.
Arsenal.
Jack, thank you. I look forward to seeing you when you're here in Vancouver, and you have a good evening, and we look forward to chatting with you again as things continue to evolve in your world.
Thanks for your time, Jim. I'll see you in September.
You bet.